Hello, folks. I'm Dan Hollifield, and welcome to Last Man Standing. Sorry about the low volume there in the advert for our parent organization, the Rising Tide Broadcast Network. We are a proud member of the Rising Tide, and we will continue to be for a long time to come. I do need to re edit that one and raise up the volume. Apparently, I did a version of that that had a voiceover and had to drop the volume of the music to be able to talk over it. It has become apparent that I can no longer do voiceovers because the programming lineup changes entirely too rapidly. So, I'm not a full time voiceover artist, so I cannot possibly keep up with those schedule changes. But if you are interested in um, about 2 dozen different genres of show. Rising Tide is for you, as is Back of the Cereal Box and Hanging with Web Show. There's really good content on all three networks. There are other networks available as well. Now let me bring Chris in here because he has just gotten home from work. And how you doing?
I'm doing all right.
We had Sullivan in here briefly while the advert was playing, but I,
Yeah.
I I think Janice finally convinced him that the rolling pin in her hand meant it's time for you to come to bed.
Yeah,
So
I started to say she probably laid the doll down.
yeah, uh, these things they happen. Oh, I finally sat down, and for some reason I had watched Kingsman 2, and I could not remember the middle of it. So I went back and watched it for a third time or fourth time, and I managed to stay awake this time, which is not a good testimonial for the shows. But it's I'm an old man; I go to sleep easily.
Mhm.
So I finally got to see the entire thing all the way through, and now I remember it. Evidently, I got to see the first 5 minutes and the last 5 minutes before in
Mhm.
between naps. So I knew I had seen it. But now, yes, okay, that's the continuity down. I've got that. I've got that. I actually got a copy of the prequel movie as well, and it's pretty neat. It's pretty neat.
Yeah.
It does set up the first two quite well. Now
Mhm.
I'm wondering if they can come up with a fourth one, which would be a sequel to the original two, or if they will go in a different direction entirely, or if they will let it stand as a finished trilogy.
Well, I wanted more from the series. I thought they kind of did a little bit overkill at the beginning of the second one, uh,
Oh,
when they more or less decimated the organization.
yes, that was a very, very shocking turn of events. And then they had to go, okay, we're only 5 minutes into the movie. What do we do now?
Yeah. And granted, I loved the premise of having American cousins, and I loved what their storefront was,
Hmm.
and loved the product even more.
Oh, tell me about it. You introduced me to it, you person. Uh, ah,
When I
Cell
saw it in
editing
the
is so
stores, I
hard at
had to
my
try
age.
it.
Oh, and yes, I will.
I hope they keep making that stuff for decades to come.
Don't tell Joe Dog, but I will be bringing my own bottle to Hallowcon. So
That'll be our secret.
yes. Now you bring a bottle too, and we'll be set.
Yeah.
Well, and unless we invite a third person to the table, but
We may have to keep that in our rooms.
our rooms will be very popular.
Well, didn't say we had to invite that many people back to them.
You know who's showing up? I mean, seriously. Uh,
Just about anybody that we want.
we want Michaela and Uncle Carl and Aunt Donna there.
Oh God,
Hey, we're not challenging Donna.
I wasn't thinking about that. I was just thinking about Michaela trying that shit. That ought to be fun.
Um, I can see fights over who gets to escort her back to her room.
Yeah.
And I can see the loser having to wheelbarrow Joe Dog back to his room.
Hey now.
Like he's going to stay. Oh, heavens.
Joe
Yes,
Dog gets as little of that shit as possible.
I'll leave you to do the math. It depends on what else has been distributed earlier.
Yeah.
So,
In fact, we'll probably have to say that for the After the Dead Dog
the
for him.
Sunday night, yeah, definitely.
Be,
We do
be,
not
be,
bring
be-
that out until the Sunday night.
because he just there's no way in hell he can function if we do that.
This is true. This is
Anyway, before that,
um, this is one of those things. He's got to be awake and alert and aware to tell you to solve problems during the rest of the convention. Handle it, handle it, handle it.
what would he do without me?
Uh, Probably the same thing the rest of us would: panic and flounder around helplessly.
Well, I'm
Oh,
glad you have that much confidence in my ability.
yeah. Well, guess who's going to inherit the show when he finally retires? It
Well,
ain't
I
going
don't
to be
know.
me.
I doubt it'll be me.
Who else could do it? Really, seriously, who else has
Well,
the chops?
that that's true, but
You
it
might
depends.
not. You might not want to, but when the will is read, you can't argue.
Well, I'm pretty sure he would love for me to take over when he's done with it.
Yep. And let's hope that he's not done with it for several decades to come.
Well, it, minimum 3 or 4 more years.
It
I
is a
said
very
absolute
exhausting.
minimum.
It's a very exhausting job. Let me tell you. Just from sitting there and watching what y'all do and how you have to scramble to solve problems that always crop up. And from as many conventions as I've gone to, that is typical.
Yeah.
You, you've got to have the firemen to come in and come to the rescue, put out the flames, and
Yeah.
get everybody to continue on as if nothing had happened.
Well, usually nothing too out of the ordinary happens. Thank God.
Yeah, but there are occasional hiccups
Oh yeah.
that do
But you don't
require
see
specialized attention,
and
and
you don't see them
every
coming.
convention has those every year.
Yeah, and you
Some
don't
of
see
them
them
are
coming.
minor, some of them are major, and thankfully, to the ordinary attendee, whether minor or major, they're invisible,
Yeah.
and
Well,
that's the chore right there, is to make the solution to the hiccup problem as invisible to the casual attendee as possible.
Yeah, you want to try and make sure it has as little and hopefully no disruption to the things going on.
Yep.
Or if it is, there is some disruption, you want it to be so minor that uh, I didn't really notice it.
Hmm. People just kind of go, "Oh, well, okay."
Yeah.
That's the thing right there. I heard a ping, and I cannot find any pingable event anywhere else.
Mm-hmm.
Let me look on the iPad. Uh, okay, it's telling me my show is going to start in 3 minutes. That was several minutes late. Thank you, Facebook. Yeah, these things, they happen. Uh, their algorithms are arrhythmic. So let's just continue on and hope that things go well. I ordered a new bone conduction headset here today.
Oh,
It's going to be Bluetooth to the streaming computer, so I don't have to worry about the cable draping over my arm here, and my ears are not going to be covered up, so I can hear when the cat scratches at the door, or Lindsay comes and wants to ask me if there's something that I have forgotten during the day that needed to be reminded of, or somebody just sent an emergency email or a Facebook post on
mm,
that I need to know about, or she just wants to say goodnight. She's going to bed. So,
nothing wrong with that.
oh Lord, no. Oh,
And I look forward to meeting her in person. Well, I
yeah,
met her before, but actually talking to her more because it was basically hi, how you doing?
yeah,
Last Anacrocon where I first met her.
yeah. Um, she is both looking forward to and totally frightened by having a vendor's table at Hallowcon.
There's nothing for her to worry about.
Well, it's just her nature.
I mean, I realize that. Um,
She's worried about what we're going to do when we get to the restaurant tomorrow for Mother's Day for my mom. So, you know, she's been worried about that for 2 or 3 days now, and it's like, honey, my brother and sister have control of that. We just roll with the punches and ride the roller coaster. That's all it is.
it shouldn't be that big of a deal.
No, not really. I
I
mean,
mean, it's a Mother's Day meal at a restaurant that's probably used to having Mother's Day meal there. I'm sure they've got the stuff well in control.
yep. Trouble is, this is going to be one of those restaurants that my mom does not really enjoy that much. So I don't
That
know why my brother picked it, but I'm not in charge, even though I am the oldest. If I was in charge, we'd be going to mom's and having a potluck instead of going to a bloody restaurant. Uh, but nobody listened.
Yeah, but you would think that they would take your mom's wishes into consideration. And like, if it's not a restaurant she's particularly fond of, try and find one she is fond of and take her to it.
It's easier to split atoms than find a restaurant my mother is fond of.
She's a picky
Uh,
eater and probably has better cooking at her place than the first dang place.
yeah. And she's the reason that we are unsatisfied with almost every restaurant we go, because mom makes it better. Ain't no cooking like mama's cooking, let me tell you. And if your family is not like that, you can't go to your mom's and get better food than any restaurant in the on the face of the earth. I feel sorry for you because that's the way I grew up.
Oh yeah, my mom, my grandmothers, both of them were excellent cooks.
Oh, and my
I mean,
aunts and
all of them were excellent cooks.
yep. Um, when when the day that Lindsay and I got married, um, we wound up we eloped, but mom and dad drove, and
Hmm.
we wound up at my maternal grandmother's 98th birthday and family reunion. I do believe it was 98, not 99. But one of my aunts took Lindsay aside, led her into Granny's kitchen.
Hmm.
And there are women that have been married into this family for years and have never been invited into Granny's kitchen. My wife, first day,
Wow.
and Aunt Mary gave Lindsay a head of cabbage and a huge knife and says, "You make the coleslaw for the family reunion dinner," and turned her loose. And she made some excellent coleslaw. And meanwhile, there were three or four other ladies in the family in there cooking. And unfortunately, it's a very sexist sort of
Hmm.
organization in the family. Even though the men folk can cook, they're usually relegated to outside on the grill, not inside in the kitchen. I would like to change that a bit, but in this instance, I am totally powerless to stand up for equal rights against uh, my lady relatives, let me tell you. So it was a family reunion dinner for about 50 people.
Mm. They probably a lot of good home cooking there, though.
Oh, Lord. Let's just say there were at least seven different varieties of potato salad recipes alone.
If you like potato salad, it's hard to beat.
Oh, yeah. And then the, none of them were bad. All of them were different in their
Yeah,
own.
and some were probably better than others, but none were bad.
Well, I mean, better is one of those subjective things where this is the way I like it. This is the way my mama makes it, so this is the
Mm,
way I like it.
yeah,
But my aunt is somebody else's mama, and they like it that way, and her sister is one. It just kind of keeps going on and on. Um,
yep.
there
Well,
might be four different varieties of fried chicken, and only one of them comes from KFC.
mhm.
The rest of them are cooked right there, right then. And then you've got barbecue, and
Excuse me.
you've got all kinds of. Tell me, oh, let me tell you, there's always at least three different variations on green beans and potatoes,
Yeah.
and some of them were slow cooked in a crock pot. Some of them were hot cooked on the stove that day, and all were delicious, and you could not tell the difference except in the individual choice of spices.
Yeah.
So,
Well, while while I got potato salad on my mind, which do you prefer, mustard based or mayonnaise based?
mustard. Yep, I am all about the German style potato salad. Uh, Not with the red potato skins left on,
Yeah.
with mustard and with dill pickles, not sweet pickles.
Hmm.
But you still got to have your onions, still got to have your hard boiled eggs, still got to have everything else that goes along with it.
Mm.
And yes, there is some mayonnaise in there too, but just the mustard is added for the additional,
Color and flavor.
yeah, color and flavor. I couldn't have put it any better. Yeah, the extra vinegar that is in the mustard and the flavor of the mustard seeds themselves. These
I
things.
like both, but I think I
Oh,
prefer the mayonnaise a little bit better.
uh, I like about 8 different ways of making potato salad. Let me tell you. But the ones that,
Or a little heavier on the mustard are your favorite.
well, no, I was going to say the ones that are most familiar from family reunions are the
Yeah.
ones that are my favorite.
Yeah.
Uh, but you wind up going to a restaurant
Hmm.
and there's potato salad on there, and you go, okay, I've got to try this and see whether it stacks up to Mama's or stacks up to Granny's. And if it comes out all right in those two comparisons, then you found a really good restaurant. If it doesn't, then you know to avoid the potato salad at that restaurant in the future, even if
Well,
everything else is hunky dory.
I'll tell you one that um, I rather like, even though it's mass produced. I do happen to like Kroger Southern style potato salad.
Yes. Yep.
It does have some thinly sliced julienne carrots in it as well, which I think
Mhm.
adds to the flavor.
Yep. And that is not something that a lot of people would add. Um, but it doesn't detract from anything either. It's a very good style all on its own.
Yeah,
Um, the the one variety I would say is my least favorite is the one that is basically uh, potato salad flavored mashed potatoes.
yeah,
I, I want the texture of,
yeah. You need the chunks of the potatoes,
yeah,
and
that's what I grew up with. That's what I enjoy the most. If I had grown up in a different family where the smoother, less chunky style was the given thing, I probably would prefer that. But I didn't, and I don't. So
it's
it's neither
almost
here nor there.
like unfinished French fries, almost
Mm,
the traditional ones. I mean,
yeah.
granted, you got other stuff to add to the flavors, but it reminds me of a thicker, steak fry,
Hmm.
for example.
Oh, Lindsay made fish and chips for us tonight, and steak fries is what she demands to go with that.
Yeah.
And oh God, that was good. That was good. Oh, let me tell. Oh, there's a reason why I've gained 70 pounds since I married this woman, and I'm not complaining.
70?
Well,
You
I
gained 70 pounds?
pretty close. I'm
Damn,
closing
you
in.
were a stick before you met her then.
Yes, I was, but
I'm
I'm
talking about a thin stick.
I was a walking skeleton when we got together. Um,
Now you're a limb.
now I'm rocking the dad bod, but uh, don't confuse that with a Clash song, okay?
Hey,
Because
yeah,
I do rock the dad bod, rock the dad. Yeah.
I knew exactly what you were talking about.
No, see,
Actually, dad bods are kind of in.
well, could be. Yes,
Did 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 did, did you ever watch Varsity Blues the movie?
no, no. Not my cup of tea, but it's perfectly fine for the people
You,
that
you
enjoyed it.
you missed out on the whipped cream bikini.
Um, Maybe not. I might have seen that in a different genre.
Well, now there was a spoof of it called Not Another Teen Movie where they did it.
no, this was not a movie.
But anyway,
Yes. Let's
but
not venture into territory that'll get us canceled on YouTube here. So uh, let's just say I've had a world of experience in alternate video play and photo stories. Um, no, when Lindsay and I got together romantically, because we had known each other for about 10 years beforehand, online in chat rooms. My second wife had just passed away, and I was not taking care of myself at all, and I had lost about 30, 40 pounds in a year. So I was about 130 pounds or thereabouts when Lindsay moved out here from New Mexico, and we got married, and she started trying to keep me healthy. And in the 16 years since then, I have got up to almost 200 pounds. So at 5'11 and 200 pounds, I do look like a popsicle stick that swallowed a watermelon, but I feel real good. And I'm much healthier than I used to be. Maybe I could do a little bit more exercise, and I think working full time at a factory is enough damn exercise. I get a lot at home doing little chores around the house, but I'm not trying to look like a bodybuilder. Uh, as a matter of fact, I don't care what I look like as long as I'm still above ground. I'm doing fine.
hmm well, the reason why I mentioned that movie and I brought up that scene in particular, the actress who wore said bikini said a few years back that she liked the dad bods.
More power to her.
Well, there's
And
been a few since then that said they kind of like the dad bods, so
well,
it's fun.
I have unexpectedly gotten a few comments here in my reclining years that evidently that is a thing, a style, a preference that certain ladies of several generations uh, are not adverse to. I did put that very diplomatically, didn't
hmm
I? I don't think I'm going to be winning any sexiest man of the year awards, but then again, I don't think I'm going to get thrown under a bus either. So let me step away, and I've got to go and do the necessary and get my last bottle of this Guinness.
Okay.
I've been saving I've been saving 3 bottles of this Guinness since last Saturday night. And I think I've showed enormous respect, not just drinking those as soon as I got home from work every day. So I'm rewarding myself for waiting until Saturday, which probably proves how old I am. That I think waiting till Saturday is a freaking reward. So
Well, it is if you've had a long week where you've worked a bunch of hours.
yeah, um, yeah, a bunch is. Oh Lord, I've got a rough few weeks coming up. They're training some new people to keep me from having to work extra overtime. But I love the money. I hate the hours.
Yeah, well, like I said, just be thankful you'll have a little extra spending cash come Liberty time.
Yeah, yep. If I don't spend it beforehand, but thankfully I've got all the bills paid and credit cards paid down, and I've still got to run to the bathroom. So I'll be right
Okay,
back.
don't let me stop you. Hello, everyone. Don't know how many people's watching, but me and Dan here are having fun talking about various things here on Last Man Standing. He had to step away, and as he mentioned earlier, we are a proud member of the Rising Tide Network, which they have plenty of different shows that they live stream and broadcast on YouTube and Facebook and other various media platforms. And if you love comics, pop culture, books, um, self publishing, all sorts of various topics and guests and authors and creative types who are anxious to tell you about what they've got going on, what they're doing, what's coming up. And we also have the Back of the Serial Broadcast Network and their various shows, creative types, and members and projects that they have going on. There's all the time something going on to add to your collections of comic books or other types of creative endeavors. They talk about collectibles and writing, and like I said, you couldn't ask for a better variety of topics covered by the Rising Tide Network and Back of the Serial Broadcast, Box Broadcast team, and various affiliates and associates of both groups.
Mm. You talking about Michaela's tidbits and scribbles
Well, I didn't mention shows by
by name?
particular name because there's so many of them, but that
Yes,
is one of the
yes.
ones that they would find interesting. Drinking with the Davies, which you get to
Oh,
experience drink recipes and how stuff is made and all the various discussions and
Chrissy is
topics that crop
really,
up.
really doing well with all the research on um, the history of different drinks and the history of different components of those drinks. And then one of my other favorites is Legend of the Traveling TARDIS, and Christian Basil uh, puts on a fine show.
I've got to mention Nick Tockert and the Historical Fencing
Historical
Guild.
Fencing Guild, yes, indeed, and I am ashamed to say that I usually miss that because uh, I'm in the secret humor group green room on Friday nights, so I don't get to see a lot of the things that I really wish I had time for. But uh,
Also, had to mention our friend Joe D. McPhee and the desk of
yes,
from the desk of a small publisher.
yes, and his show is immediately before Stupid O'Clock on Saturday nights. And if you enjoy comic books at all, you will enjoy Jody McPhee's take on this, as well as his own uh, independent comic books that he does. And then
And
there's
we need to mention Heather Ellen and her Comics and Chaos show.
yes, indeed, and Cryptid Crunch with uh,
Willow,
Willow and oh, now my brain has decided.
is it Nita?
No, it's not Nita. It's uh Keisha.
Keisha.
Yes,
Keisha Aikman.
and of late it has also featured Heather as well.
Yeah.
Now, and I will go out of my way to support anything that Willow and Keisha are in, and Heather is beginning to grow. I mean, she's not someone I know very well, but
Yeah. I've had a few conversations with her.
She's
So
a really nice girl in her own right. I mean,
yeah,
very
she's very clever.
knowledgeable and very hardworking in the fandom community there in Florida. Uh,
And she rocks the goth look. I ain't gonna lie.
hey, and
And
there's Mike waking up for the day.
yes, Mike, it is.
Yeah, uh, just barely for us, but it's been several hours old for you.
Yeah,
Uh, so tell us whether or not you want to pop in the show, Jimmy. Mike. Oh Lord,
I
whatever
know it's confusing. I just
you,
left it with Mike.
you
It's the easiest thing to do.
you got like six first names. Just pick one, okay? Oh, that sounded southern, didn't it? My accent
Yeah.
comes out at the strangest times. Most of the time, I
Well,
sound like a Midwestern, but then again,
I keep thinking about Brett Butler's line, the female comedian. He said, "I'm so southern, I'm related to myself."
yes. Oh, she was. Oh, mm. I miss her stand-up routines and her show.
Yeah. Well, I think she had a hard time dealing with the stress, and I think she kind of took her popularity a little bit too far, and it rubbed some fans the wrong way. But she had some really funny stuff. It's really
Oh
good
yeah,
stuff.
yeah. As far as stand-up goes, I can't think of anybody uh, better qualified for our area, to represent. Uh,
Well, to me, her and Louis Rizard were two of the best
I would definitely agree. I would definitely
comedians
agree.
that took Southern culture and references and made it relatable
Hmm.
to not only Southerners but people who were not familiar
Yes,
with Southern culture and traditions.
and the TV show was not bad either.
Yeah.
I enjoyed it. I enjoyed it. Wasn't always my cup of tea, but then again,
Mhm.
not. I can't think of any TV show that's always my cup of tea.
Well, you're limited by the writing, and
And the censors for the network.
not only that, you're also limited by the scope of the show, and it had a particular setting, and you only had so much wiggle room within that setting. And while it may look good originally when you come up with this, but eventually you're going to get to the point where you're going to run out of ideas.
Or the
It's going to become
premise
stale.
is going to age.
Yeah.
There were, and believe me, I'm talking all the way back to when I first started watching television in the 50s. There have been shows that have outgrown their premise or failed to outgrow their premise, is probably a
Yeah.
better way to put it, and settled on the tried and true rather than experiment to find a new direction to go in.
Well, I think about some really good medical shows from back in the early 80s. I'm
Mhm.
dating myself a little bit, but
Yeah,
St. Elsewhere.
yeah,
Great ensemble cast.
indeed, yeah.
Trapper John MD. It's funny. Gregory Harrison goes from a sex symbol for the females from it to the old police chief in a Hallmark holiday movie. It's like, wait, this was the young guy.
Yeah, really. Times change. Keep up. Uh,
Yeah, I
yeah,
know.
that's an unfortunate side effect of having a long career.
But
Um,
I think those shows stayed about the right length of time.
a lot
They
of them
didn't
did.
stay too
I
long.
can't think of too many that overstayed their welcome. Matter of fact, I couldn't name any that overstayed their welcome. I know
Well, I
there
can one.
There might have been
That's
a
because they
few that
jumped the shark.
ended in entirely too soon. Now, what did you
Yeah.
say?
I
You
said
think
I
of
can think
one?
of one that jumped the shark.
Well, I know the one that originally jumped the shark, but
Happy Days.
yeah, still, um,
Well, that was the point when it's like, okay, we've kind of run the gamut.
well, that's the meaning of the
The phrase.
well, yeah. I was trying to think of a better way to say the phrase, but yeah, yeah.
Well, soap operas are an entirely different thing, Mike.
Oh, yeah. There are some soap operas that have been running since radio in the 30s,
Yeah.
and they're still on TV now. So, and
Well, I think there's only three like major ones that's still in operation because a lot of them gone by way of the dinosaur. I
well,
think all my children.
Days of
No,
Our
no, no,
Lives.
no. Wait a minute. I think all my children actually got canceled. I think General Hospital, Days of Our Lives, and Young and Restless are only three that's still around anymore.
Uh, and General Hospital is, well, Days of Our Lives and General Hospital are probably the oldest.
Yeah,
And I don't know if General Hospital was a radio show before TV came along, but
yeah,
Days of Our Lives was.
yeah. I mean, I still hear Donald Carey's voice because my grandmother used to watch that, and I had to watch it whether I wanted to or not.
Well, now, I believe it was my first wife was hooked on one particular channel's run of shows, and
I don't think As the World Turns is still going, Mike, because I think they've gone to like daytime talk shows and
yep, that's one of the ones that seems to have um, ended its run, for want of a better phrase.
because NBC's two main ones were Days of Our Lives and As the World Turns, not As the World Turns, Another World.
Another World.
Yeah, because
Let's see.
Another World's been gone for years.
There was a one network was showing a brand new one called Santa Barbara, which was showing a lot of folks that became really big in other shows later on.
Yeah, Santa Barbara was the one that followed after Another World. It lasted for a few years, but eventually it flamed out as well.
Yeah, but it gave
But
us a lot. It gave us a lot of really high class actors that went on to do other things.
oh yeah, that was A. Martinez's big breakout role. I mean, he'd
And
been in some other stuff beforehand, but that kind of put him in the where he got noticed and he started getting put in other projects.
was it Lane Davies was one of the actors in that?
I don't know. I know Anne Hesh got her big start in Another World.
The fellow I'm thinking of, even if I can't remember his name, decided to retire from acting and be a scriptwriter, but he went on to play a major villain in Lois and Clark: The New Adventures of Superman with Dean Cain and Terry Hatcher.
Oh,
And yeah, I do believe his name was Lane Davies. I could be wrong. Just a very excellent deadpan sort of humor delivery.
you talking about the one that played the
Tempest was the villain's name.
I know, but wasn't he in My Cousin Vinny? Wasn't he like the district attorney?
I do not know that. I
No,
can't.
he's the one that played Perry White.
Oh, in My Cousin Vinny. Yeah. Yep.
Yeah, I can't think of his name at the moment. So
Uh,
just out of
well,
me.
let me pretend I'm John. Uh,
I was about to.
Yes, I did have the name right, Lane Davies. Uh, let's click on that. And he's from Dalton, Georgia.
Oh wow!
Yep. Graduated from Middle Tennessee State University cum laude for his degree in speech and theater. Currently, he resides in Georgia with his family. Uh, doesn't mention his wife's name, but he has two sons, Nathan Hamilton and Thatcher Lee. Um, let's see, worked in the Trinity Square Repertory Company of Providence, Rhode Island. He worked in Atlanta's Alliance Theater, Houston's Alley Theater, and the Old Globe Theater in San Diego. He
Wow,
also
he's got
worked at
quite a
the
few.
Georgia Shakespeare Festival and the Globe Playhouse in Los Angeles. Let's see. Oh wow,
Well, he was in.
he's got a lot of Shakespearean credits here, and
He was in Supernatural.
yeah, yeah. Uh, let's
He was
see.
actually on General Hospital.
Uh, let's see. Made an appearance on Married with Children, Major Dad, Scrubs, Seinfeld, Just Shoot Me, and Lois and Clark: New Adventures of Superman, where he played a
Oh,
time traveling sociopath named Tempest. He also had recurring roles on Third Rock from the Sun, The Practice Coach, Complete Savages, The Nanny, Dallas Golden Girls, Empty Nest, and Ellen.
he was also in Babylon 5 in the beginning, the TV movie.
Oh yeah, the one with the different soundtrack that was done by uh, let's
Christopher
see,
Frank.
no, the drummer from the Police.
Oh, Stuart Copeland.
Yes, Stuart Copeland composed a lot of the music for the original uh, pilot version of Babylon 5, which when they actually went to series, I was very disappointed that they chose a more orchestral, cinematic sort of music rather than Stuart Copeland's because it was really good.
Well,
It,
Christopher Frank was in the band Tangerine Dream.
oh, yes.
And if you ever saw 3 O'Clock High, they did the soundtrack for it, and it was actually a cool, funny, cute movie.
They also did the soundtrack for a movie called Sorcerer, which is about some guys running a truckload of dynamite across pre-Columbian art for rope bridges. Uh,
Ooh, he was in the series Good and Evil
mhm.
and Sons and Daughters. He was also on Santa Barbara.
Yep. Santa Barbara was the parent show. No, no, Santa Barbara was the one that I was talking about,
Yep.
where he actually uh, came to my attention because I do believe it was my first wife that was hooked on that particular network's soaps, and Santa Barbara was a brand new soap that they were just trying out, and
Hmm.
he played a really deadpan, sarcastic sort of anti-hero character, and it was a lot of fun.
Well,
It was a lot of fun.
speaking of deadpan and sarcastic, he was also in an episode of the series Just Shoot Me with David Spade, who does sarcastic and very well.
Yeah. Oh Lord. Uh the way the world intertwines. I swear it's like a kudzu. It just kind of all grows together in the end to this one big mass of entertainment. Uh
Yeah, if you don't have somebody to do the yard work and the gardening, it tends to get a little out of hand before you realize it.
yeah.
Speaking of
But it
yard work, I did about 6 hours of mowing today.
Oh, Lindsay wanted me to mow today. She wanted me to mow the front yard, which I just mowed, but the dandelions are coming back, and she hates that. But the backyard was what I needed to mow with a push mower rather than my riding mower.
Yeah.
And I was about to go out and do that, and she goes, "No, no, it's getting late. You run out of light." And I'm going, "But honey, it needs to be done." And she goes, "No, no, we'll get to that later." And I'm going, "Oh, I'm going to pay for this anon. Uh,
Yeah.
if not tomorrow, then another day." And tomorrow's going to be taken up with uh, shopping trips, and then taking mom to a Mother's Day dinner in a place that my brother picked that I don't believe mama's going to like, but I'm
Cross
happy.
your fingers. Maybe she won't think too badly of it.
Um,
It's doubtful, but you can always hope.
I know what mom wants, and it ain't got nothing to do with going out to a restaurant.
Well, after a certain point in your life, going out don't mean as much as it once did.
Well, it's something that's really nice. The thought behind it is really nice, but mom would be much happier if we just come visit the house more often. You
Yeah.
know?
And that's the key. When you get older, you want to be remembered and somebody actually pay attention to you.
Yeah.
And anybody that still has their mom with them, do something nice for them. Spend some time with them
Hmm.
and be glad that you got them for another Mother's Day
However long you still got, uh,
because this is
because
number five without mine.
it's the time will come when those opportunities no longer exist, and that's going to be sad. Haven't had a reason to celebrate Father's Day for several years now, so I know exactly where I speak. Uh, pay attention, value what you got when you got it. Do please pay attention, because there'll come a day when those holidays are just days on the calendar, and you will regret every missed opportunity. Let me tell you.
Yep.
But enough of me sounding like an old man.
Well, I just sent Heather Ellen a message asking her if she wanted to join in on us. So we'll see if she responds.
Mhm. And Mike, you're welcome to as well if you want. Just tell us you got time to spare, another cup of coffee to drink or whatever before you get started with your Sunday. Um,
I mean, me and Dan can do this all night. We've done it before.
we've done it for 6 hours before, so be warned. Be afraid. Be
You
very.
did that one by yourself.
Hey, me and Mike went on for several hours by ourselves one night. I mean, hey,
And probably not. I had to go early.
it might have been a night you weren't even able to come in, but I'm not
Yeah,
sure.
that could have been as well.
It wasn't that long ago, but the it was popular on YouTube and the replays. Let me tell you. There's one thing that I wish we could do for Stupid O'Clock and for Last Man Standing is be able to aggregate the statistics for the views across all of the Facebook channels and the YouTube channels,
Hmm.
and for Stupid O'Clock, Twitch as well, and get a total number of views for
Yeah,
individual shows after the fact, because being late night, people are not going to be able to stay awake
Yeah.
long enough to watch us live. Like right now, there's very few people watching us live, but at least on YouTube, there might be one or two on Facebook. But we never know without going to each of those channels and
Yeah.
clicking on the stats for those particular shows, which is kind of awkward, especially when you do several a week. But apparently, in replays after the fact, we
Mhm.
do quite well. Both Stupid O'Clock and Last Man Standing, and um, well, with Michaela Jade's tidbits and scribbles that I'm happy to be a part of as a guest author, and there's
I'm sure
uh,
she's happy to have you.
well, I mean, yeah, I'm more than happy to be there. Whatever experience and advice that I'm able to offer to up and coming writers is uh, pretty much ties into why I publish Aphelion
Yeah.
and do what I can to get other uh, new writers more attention and be able to learn their chops well enough to where they can make their first professional sales and go on and be uh, big name writers because that has happened. I mean, there's several. You may still call them mid list, but
Mm,
that's because they're not visible to Hollywood or TV or whatever. But they've got some damn fine work out there, and I'm proud that I was the publisher of their first few appearances uh, in the writing community, and uh,
well, that's a cool thing to have a hand
yeah, it's that's my reward for owning and publishing the website is that we've helped going on 400 500 new writers turn pro and start selling their work. You know, the happiest time of my life is when we get an email going, "Hey, I made my first sale," and then the saddest time of my life is realizing that now they need to get paid for everything they do, so they're not going to be sending Aphelion very much because it's a
in.
non-paying exposure market, basically.
Yeah.
It's a permanent floating writers workshop, is what it is, and we're trying to get writers to the point to where they make their first professional sales and graduate into the ranks of the pros and can step away from the exposure market and start earning
Yeah.
a living, however small
Or at
or
least
large that may
supplement
be.
their
Yeah, yeah, exactly, exactly. And writing is one of those things where, unless you are fantastically lucky and get a really good deal with somebody that's got deep pockets,
yeah.
writing is not going to be a career that you can uh, retire from your day job and do writing only.
Yeah. It's hard to become an exclusive writer only.
hmm Now,
Well,
there are a lot of people who have taken that step and they work their asses off in order to be able to keep their head above water, or they have a spouse that is uh, letting them, well, making it easier for them to pursue their writing.
enabling them to do so.
Yes, that's a good word. That's a good word. Yes. Or in the case of Larry Niven, you got a damn trust fund when you were born, so you didn't have to work for a living, but you decided to take up writing because you're good at it,
Yeah.
and everybody's got a different history of how they got to where they are and where they're going. And basically, I try and make Aphelion a springboard to bigger and better things.
Yeah,
Uh,
and it's great that you've provided that service for 25 years.
yeah, um,
Hard to believe.
it is. It really is. And there was a time when I was going to shut it down because I didn't think we were making a difference. And matter of fact, it wasn't even a we; it was just me by
Yeah.
myself, and I could just barely keep up. And uh, as much as my title is editor, at that time I was not that good of an editor. I was just barely that good of a writer. I've learned a lot in both professions since, but
Well, it
at that time I was ready to close it down, and my friends said, "No, we're not going to let you shut this down. It's too important. You're doing too good of a job. You're benefiting too many people. We are going to help you keep this running."
and it benefited you as well because it helped you become a better writer, a better editor, and you know
Mhm. And
when you're around good stuff, it just
you,
elevates everybody.
yeah, when you read stuff that is well written and has been well edited, you learn a lot about writing and editing. When you are doing the editing for someone who is just coming up and needs to learn a few things, you learn as much as they do, if not more, about how to do the editing. And you see from reading good writing and from reading not so good writing how to improve your own writing. And you can do that without having to be an editor, without having to be connected to a webzine or anything else. All you have to do is read all sorts of things, from Reader's Digest to highly acclaimed award winning novels. You can tell, once you've got a little experience under your belt, you can tell what is good writing and what is uh, just phoning it in. And you learn how to make your own writing better. And when you're doing editing, you learn how to self edit much better. But there's always going to be a point, no matter how good of an editor you are, no matter how good of a writer you are, you're going to have to turn your manuscript over to somebody else, not living inside your head, so that the mistakes that you do not see because you're too close to the story can be seen by somebody that is not too close to the story. I mean, there's a lot of things that I have learned that about my own work. I know what it's supposed to say, but that's not necessarily what I typed.
Mhm.
So a good editor will go, "Did you mean to say this, or did you leave about two sentences out here, or you missed a word, or that's not quite the word that you wanted. It's close, but have you thought about using this word instead?" That's what a good editor will do for you. Remind you where you, if not jump the shark, then kind of gently swam over it without getting bitten. And then where you got bit.
Exactly.
Oh, Lord.
Well, she messaged me back. I forgot she was at an event this weekend. She's really tired, and she says I'm not really live stream worthy at the moment because she's tired. So I respect that. So perhaps another time I can
Yeah.
get her to participate, and y'all can get to know each other a little better. And we can hopefully cross pollinate among shows.
I'm sure you meant that to sound less dirty than it did when you said it.
Yeah, I'm sure I did too, but it doesn't.
Hey, this is live. We can't always pick the right words.
It
Believe
it
me.
it serves as good a function as any year, because when you mention a show on another show and they mention it back, it just, like I said, it kind of helps it grow
Yeah,
and bloom.
everything is organic and flowing, and everything needs um, sunlight and water and the large amount of fertilizer that this show is famous for dumping out. Yeah. Uh, and Stupid O'Clock has provided a lot of fertilizer over the years.
Oh
Uh,
yeah, it gets deep sometimes, but that's part of
it
the fun
gets
too.
really deep. I keep a pair of rubber boots handy, but these things, they happen. And it's all the fun of live broadcasting, which, harkens back to my childhood when a lot of TV shows were not pre-recorded. They were broadcast live, warts and
Yeah,
all, mistakes and all. And you could tell when somebody missed their line or mispronounced a word or whatever, and everybody kept plowing ahead because you had to get this time frame full of this dialogue
yep.
before the end credits could roll, and there were no second takes.
All right, I need to step away for a few moments. I'll be right back.
Alrighty. Yep. Didn't really mean to turn this into a writing and editing tutorial sort of show tonight, but this is just the way that the topics drift. Um, on the lava that is the undercurrent of the continents that is our topics. Uh, Topic drift and continental drift operate quite the same. There's a lot of stuff bubbling up under the surface that pushes uh, more solid material this way and that way, whether by design or by sheer luck. You wind up with things in a different arrangement than what was originally recorded or proposed. So these things happen. That was a very twisted sort of metaphor, but I believe it worked in the long run. I probably would have edited it a little bit, but it's live. I can't edit. Not without backing up and restarting and trying to say things all over again without seeming like the Matrix has glitched and I'm trying to say things all over again. Oh, I just watched the fourth Matrix movie, and that was pretty neat actually. It was quite a departure from the third one, but then again, it showed a way to recover from what might have been unfortunate directorial decisions or unfortunate script writing decisions or any other unfortunate sort of things that involved an earlier work being uh, patched up to continue the continuity that was more popular than the bits and pieces that looked really great on the page, but might not have worked that well on the screen. Now, I am looking forward to several other new things that are coming out right now that I am not going to be able to go to a theater and see. The second Doctor Strange movie is uppermost in my mind. I'm not going to get to see that in the movie theater. I'm going to have to wait until it comes out on DVD. I'm sorry. I will not. Um, I will not post spoilers when I see them because I know a lot of people are put off by spoilers. I'm not personally. I do enjoy uh, the making of sort of things where you kind of learn the backstage secrets of how things were done, and incidentally, you might pick up a plot twist or two that you wouldn't have known if you hadn't watched the making of sort of videos. That you kind of some people would not want to be aware of when they go and see the movie in a theater for the first time, or sit down and watch it on a streaming service or a DVD for the first time. Doesn't Just because it doesn't bother me does not mean that I think it doesn't bother other people. So, if I come across a spoiler, I'm not going to pass it on, no matter what the genre, no matter what the movie, no matter what it doesn't matter. I'm trying to respect everybody else's preferences to how they first experienced this, that, and the other thing. Now, if it comes to something that's been out for a long time, then yeah, I'm not going to think it's a spoiler when I tell you hand shot first. Sorry. Um, I need to get that T-shirt. Matter of fact, if I had lucky, I could get the actor to actually sign it, but he's probably got better things to do with his time now. And no, I didn't like the way that particular character was dispatched. Uh, but that's the way the script was written. That's the way the actor played it. He'd been wanting the character killed off for years. He finally got his wish. You know, hey, I enjoyed the movie. I would have done things differently, but if I'd been doing things, it wouldn't have been what it was. It would have been something else. So, uh, what it was pretty damn good. And if it had been up to me to do the same sort of thing, I'd be really working my butt off to make anything that high a quality. And that goes for not only Star Wars, but um, Babylon 5 or Trek or just anything like that. There are things that are done really, really well. And I have no illusions that I'm not yet in that level of quality of my writing. So uh, I do what I do. What I do really well for me. Some people like it, some people are indifferent, and some people go, I ain't never giving him any of my money again, and I don't care. Um, there are the people who are my fans, and uh, they enjoy what I've been able to produce so far, and I'm very thankful for them. And I'm very thankful to them, both. Uh, but if it comes right down to it, I'm not writing for them. I'm writing for me. I'm writing the stories that I want to read that nobody else has thought of writing yet. I am my own worst critic and my own first reader. And if I like what I'm writing, I can see room for improvement, technical things that should be done, this, that, and the other thing, or hints that, hey, have you thought of doing this? That's great. That's perfectly fine. But I am the audience I am writing for, and people like me I feel sorry for you because you're like me, but you're the ones I'm writing for too. Want to read the stories that nobody else has written, but uh, just happened to pop into my mind instead of Larry Nevins or Steven Spielberg's or whoever's, whatever. Um, them some breaks.
Oh, and before I forget, I got to mention we lost another legend. Mickey
George
Gilley
Torres,
passed away.
Mickey Gilley.
Yep,
Oh Lord, that's Neil and George and now Mickey. Oh wow, and the lady,
which lady?
country music.
Oh,
Just
Naomi Judd.
yes, yes. Yeah. See, I'm not a big fan of country music, so I there's no storage space left over in my head for that. But yeah,
Uh,
I had read about that, and that's
there's three um, Judd songs that really stick in my head. Why Not Me? You probably heard that one before.
oh yeah,
Grandpa, Tell Me About the Good Old Days. And then I think it may not be exact, but it's close. Love Can Build a Bridge.
hmm
And of course, Mickey Gilley. Uh, he sang the song on the end credits of the movie Tough Enough, if you remember it, with Dennis Quaid.
I don't remember the movie. I do remember the uh,
And of
the
course, he did a lot
Fabulous
of songs.
Thunderbird song, but yeah,
He did a lot of songs with associated with the Urban Cowboy soundtrack.
yes, yes,
In fact, I think a lot of that was filmed at his nightclub, Gillies.
mm, yeah. I think that yes, you are exactly right. Yes, even as small of a country music fan as I am, I remember that now. Yeah, um,
And of course, he is famous for his cousins, Jerry Lee Lewis and Jimmy
mm,
Swaggart.
yes, but we don't talk about Jimmy.
No, we just mentioned him in passing and move on.
You're really. Yeah.
But from what I understand, somebody said he was pretty good at piano, which makes sense since Jerry Lee and Mickey's pretty dang good at one.
Yeah.
I'm sure he's not good as they are, but you know,
Yeah, one really wishes that he had gone on to a more honorable career than what he chose.
well, nobody's perfect.
This is true.
He's proof of it. Sorry, Lord forgive me. I'm sorry, Grandma.
God help the little pygmies. Uh,
Lord, I apologize. God bless starving little pygmies in New Guinea.
oh heavens! Ah, yeah. Topic drift is not something that's exclusive to Stupid O'clock and Larry and Evan mailing lists. Let me tell you,
Oh no, we excel at it because
yeah, we're
Viva
really good at
Variety.
it. We've honed that skill. Uh,
You know, as the saying goes, Viva Variety.
yeah.
You'll find plenty of it here.
Uh, do you remember a lot of the '70s variety shows?
I remember some of them. Yeah, I mean, I was real little at the time.
Well, yeah. I mean, I was just barely a teenager, but you know, there was a huge number of very talented people that wound up with variety shows for
Well,
no
yeah,
discernible reason, and then they tried to do the best they could with it, and
I can't
more
remember if
often than not.
ABBA or Olivia Newton-John had, but I remember them performing together on one.
hmm Well, I mean, you got uh, Sonny and Cher. You had
Donnie Marie show.
Donnie Marie. Yeah.
You had
Uh,
Glenn Campbell Good Time Hour.
there you go. That was the one I was trying to remember. Glenn Campbell. You had Flip Wilson. You had
Yeah,
uh, Oh Lord.
Plenty of them.
Yeah. Uh, like I said, a few of them you wondered why they had the show, but then
Well,
you realized they had something that was really top of the pops right then, so they
well,
got a TV show automatically.
I thought about another. Uh, he wasn't like a mainstream act, but he got to host a lot of stuff, and it wasn't necessarily he was that bad, but he had the look. Do you remember John Davidson?
Yeah,
I mean,
yeah, I
he
did.
had the hair, he had the smile, he had the eyes, and all that. But he kind of had
He
that. You
he
know,
had everything but the record contract.
exactly.
Yep.
He was an okay singer. He
Oh,
wasn't
and
terrible, but
Mac
he
Davis.
wasn't great either.
Mac Davis had one, and he made a point of wandering through the audience towards the end of the show, and people would give him random lines, and he'd turn it into a song right there.
Well, Mike Davis was so underrated as a talent. I mean,
I
he wrote
know.
songs for Elvis and other people. He could act.
Hmm.
And of course, he could write good songs. He could write serious songs. He could write funny songs.
Didn't Jim
Um,
Stafford have a variety show as well?
I
It
don't
didn't
know
last long.
if he didn't. He should have. He was
Yeah.
creative enough for it.
Well, yeah, and
Um,
he's that good of a stand up as well as a musician.
well, there's a couple of things that I think of when I think of Mac Davis. I think of Lord, it's hard to be humble when you're perfect in every way.
Hmm.
And he had, I don't know if you ever watched The Sting too. It wasn't quite as popular as The Sting.
I remember the first one quite well. I don't remember the
The
second one at
second
all.
one had Jackie Gleason in it. It had Mac Davis. But this time the hustle wasn't a pool shark trying to win money and hustle somebody. Mac Davis was a guy that was a fighter, but he wasn't that great of a fighter. But they were trying to put a hustle on somebody where it was entertaining because it had the lovely Terry Garr in it.
Hmm. It's a shame she had a bad experience with her one appearance on Star Trek. She would have been excellent in spinning off that Gary Seven TV series, but I
Well,
I don't know what happened, but I have a sneaking suspicion it's something that I shouldn't say out loud because I don't have a big name lawyer. But mm,
let me see if I can.
oh, I wouldn't. I wouldn't. I
No,
don't.
I'm not going to do it out loud. But there is a certain other option.
Oh, a questionable sort of thing. Yeah. Yeah, that's exactly what I thought was going on. Yeah,
Mm.
and why she pretty much refused to go public with it later on. Just that a bad thing was not uh, going to allow her to continue with that particular franchise. Uh,
But I can tell you for a fact, Terry Garr being in Mr. Mom and um, Young Frankenstein,
one of
that's
my favorite
Frankenstein,
films. Yes.
and constantly being invited by David Letterman to be on a show because he had a crush on her. There ain't no doubt about it.
Yeah.
But then again, who didn't back then?
Hey, if there are two reasons why you wouldn't have a crush on Terry Garr, and one because you're stupid. The other one, you can
You
figure
ain't
that
into
out
women.
yourself. Yeah.
Yeah, you ain't into women. Um, and there's another one that comes to mind that was talented, and I think David had kind of a crush on, and definitely wanted to see her do well. Was Bonnie Hunt?
Oh yeah, yeah. Okay. Took me a minute. My brain did not want to come out with that memory. I don't
Yeah.
know why that was censored from me. It's probably because I needed the storage for something else. Probably something trivial about my own fiction. Uh, that takes up a lot of brain power. Let me tell you. Well, not power, but storage space. Uh, it's hard to keep track of 11,000 years of recorded history
Yeah,
about something that
it's
never existed. Uh,
and you can't remember everything, and I can't remember, but sometimes
well, I took
something will
copious
jog my
notes, thank goodness.
yeah.
Uh,
Sometimes things will jog my memory, and like, oh, and my brain goes off to the races.
yeah, really. Hey, I hid this brain cell from you because I knew it was important, but you really didn't really need it right then. But
Yeah,
you need it now, so here it
but
is.
that's the great thing about it. You know, you do little tricks like that in your mind. Like, I don't need to remember this anytime soon, but if it's going to jog my memory,
Really, if I'm
and
ever
we'll
on
be there.
Jeopardy, I want to remember this. Ah,
Oh,
oh Lord, I used to get all kinds of comments from college roommates. We'd be sitting and watching some game show,
mm-hmm,
Jeopardy being the prototype, basically.
mm-hmm.
And here I'm able to answer all the questions. I'm sitting there reading a book, listening to them
Yeah.
watching a show. Then I pop off with the answers, and they go, "Why aren't you on this show?" And I look, they never have a topic I'm interested in. Just because I know random stuff doesn't mean I'd be able to perform on camera.
Yeah, and there's no telling whether the day that you actually wound up being on the show, whether you would get categories that you were familiar with.
Really, it'd be like uh, the dude from Cheers uh, showing up
Oh,
on Jeopardy,
Cliff.
and yeah, Cliff getting uh, the history of beer as a category. You go, I'll take everything for 1,000, please. Yeah, and then screwing it up at the last minute.
Yeah. Well, that was part of Cliff's thing, being bombastic and and falling flat on his face.
Yeah, and still doing it so gracefully that people would go, "Yeah, I'll give him that one. I'll give him that one. It's entertaining. It's stupid, but it's entertaining."
And
Uh,
interestingly enough, he was in The Empire Strikes Back.
hmm Oh, did you ever see the two house movies about
I
haunted
saw
houses?
bits and pieces of them.
Okay, I have seen both of them, and they both had actors from Cheers playing, uh,
Yeah, I
if not
think
if
Norm
not
was in it.
major parts, but minor parts. Yeah,
Yeah, I think
Uh,
Norm was in one of them,
Norm
if
was
I'm not
in one,
wrong.
Cliff was in the other. Yeah, and they were. It's like you thought these are going to be just bumbling walk-on characters, and all of a sudden they turn into the hidden hero sort of thing.
Yeah.
And that was pretty neat. Let me run to the fridge. I'll be right back.
Okay.
And I'm getting used to this new camera.
It'll be all right, Dan. Um, yeah, interestingly enough, House never did seem to catch on popularity the way that the makers of the films thought they would. It was William Katz's chance to try and make it big in movies after his run on Greatest American Hero was over or nearing its end. And I don't know. Stuff happens. It's kind of crazy how some things you don't think would be that popular wound up being huge hits, and some things you think are going to wind up being bigger don't really do that well at the box office. Um, you never really can tell what people are going to be enamored with and is going to catch on with the majority of the public at large. Um,
Well, yeah, and I did misspoke as I was getting up. Did misspeak as I was getting up. It's not a new camera; it's the new chair I'm in.
Yeah.
So I had to move the camera because if I'd kept it in the normal place back with the other chair, you'd be getting a great view up my nostrils right about now instead of being able to look me full on in the face. So I had to put a little tripod on the camera and move it off to the side a little bit instead. And if I put it dead center of the screen, it would be dead center of the monitor, and I would not be able to see anything that was happening except maybe the last three or four words of each comment in the comments section, and whoever was sitting way off screen left. So it's much better that I have the camera off to the side. And
Yeah. I don't know if you heard me, Dan, but I was explaining that House was supposed to be William Katt's way of getting into feature films, as either the Greatest American Hero had ended or was nearing its end run, and it never seemed to catch on with the public the way the producers thought that it would. And it's interesting
well,
how some films do not catch on like wildfire, so to speak, or and some that you don't think are going to do that well wind up being huge successes.
I would classify both of those as now having cult movie status.
Yes.
And yes, William Catt is a fine actor, and I really loved Greatest American Hero, but I thought that uh, trying to use the house movies to branch him out into being a more mainstream actor was not the well.
Best
I wouldn't
decision
say
on his
not the
part.
wisest decision. I would say it's turned out not to be a successful decision.
Yeah.
So yeah,
It wasn't the best decision for he could have made at the time.
well, and you really don't know what kind of control he had over it whatsoever. And
Yeah.
there was a new uh, uh, Perry Mason series that he was guest starring in as a serious actor, which actually served him much better as
Yeah.
a serious actor,
Yeah.
which also did not catch on because people were too used to Raymond Burr and they would not be willing to accept anybody else as Perry Mason.
Yeah. And it's interesting that you mentioned Flip Wilson earlier.
Yeah.
I remember Paul Mooney talking about Flip Wilson's problem was it got to the point where people didn't give a shit about Flip Wilson. They want to know where the hell Geraldine was.
You almost got me on that one.
Sorry.
Yeah. Um, when you have as a comedian, when you
Hmm.
have a character that you occasionally portray who becomes more famous than you are, that can be a drawback
Yeah.
to your performance, your future bookings, because everybody wants to see that character when you also have 50 or 60 other characters you'd love to do,
Hmm.
but they want that one.
Well, and I remember, I like using the lines from actually, the album title of Joan Jett's album, Glorious Results of Misspent Youth. Um,
That's just poetry right there. And I know, and I do know and love Joan Jett's work. Let me tell you.
but I probably started watching Richard Pryor and listening to him at a younger age than I should have. But I
But it was
remember,
fun, wasn't it?
oh yeah. Well, I mean, if you could get past the the language. He told some really amusing and memorable stories.
Yeah,
And I
but
remember
once
watching.
you understand Richard Pryor, the language is part of the stories.
Well, yeah, but he grew up in a rough environment,
Well, a lot
and
of people did.
and well, his father was the proprietor of a house of ill repute.
I thought his father was absentee, and it was his mother
Well,
or
anyway,
aunts that had him in the bordello.
well, he
Uh,
grew up,
hey,
like I said, around some rough characters.
yeah, it was not a good time or a place for anybody to be growing up in, but he was stuck with where he was when he
Yeah,
was,
you
and
can't
he made
control
the
your
best deal.
situation as a child.
Yeah.
But
Um,
anyway, I remember him doing a show where somebody yelled out in the audience, like, do Mudbone. He's like, do Mudbone? He said, okay. He said, this is the last time I'm doing Mudbone. And that's the one comedy skit that he did that I don't remember there being any cussing in.
well, it didn't
But
have to be.
yeah, and I remember him
The
talking about
character,
his
the
piece was
character
too
did.
small.
Oh, they're for mm, Lord, for a lot of comedians, the characters that they portray, and not all comedians do characters rather than slice of life sort of thing. But some of those characters can become larger than life, and that's part of the fun when they're really hot and up and coming or established. But it's not the kind of thing you want to see them fall into as a stereotype because that's all somebody remembers. Um, Cheech and Chong
Mm,
both went on to do some serious stuff or kind of serious stuff that had nothing to do with what they were famous for in their stand-up acts and their comedy albums and whatnot. Um, I mean, and especially Cheech was doing some really serious police drama sort of things. So that was really neat to see. And Tommy Chong wound up as a supporting character on that '70s show. And basically, all they did was tell him to be himself and give him a prompt for him to respond to, as far as I know. I
yeah.
don't think anybody's bold enough to try and like write lines for him. Just give him something to play off of. That's all
Yeah.
he needs, and
Well, and
he'll deliver.
I watched Richard Pryor's short-lived comedy series,
Mhm.
which had, I'm sure, had the NBC censors scared to death.
Oh God, they were probably wearing adult diapers trying to figure out what they were going to have to edit and when.
But it's funny. It had him, Robin Williams, a young Marsha Warfield on it, and several other things. There's a skit where he's playing a Southern lawyer in a early 1900s courtroom. It is so funny. I was about rolling to the floor, died laughing.
Given the three of those, I would say that the censors probably got their biggest workout trying to keep Robin Williams in check. But
Actually,
Marsha Warfield did not.
pull any punches.
Oh no, no, and yeah. Thank you for trying to cover up the way I was going. Trying to find a new way to say no fucks given, but
Yeah,
Marsha, she's a law unto herself.
yeah, she didn't give a crap.
Oh no, she didn't care what anybody thought. She was going to say what she had to say.
And I tell you another one that was funny that did the eyes like similar to Richard Pryor because that was Richard Pryor could just crack me up with expressions on his face.
Hmm.
I mean, and Charlie Sheen's another one of those. Charlie Sheen can you say what you want to about his you know stuff with Two and a Half Men and all that, but before that, he was hilarious in the Hot Shots movies
Hmm.
and just I mean, he's a hell of an actor. He can do comedy, he can do serious stuff, and like I
Uh,
said, he's done some of the best work because I loved him. Did you ever see the movie Eight Men Out about the Black Sox scandal?
no, I did not. No, I did not.
I
And
think he
probably
was in it,
because it concerned baseball, which is not something that I am fanatic about, to put it politely.
but
Uh,
anyway, it was a good movie, and
Val Kilmer should have stuck to comedy, I do believe. Although I have seen him in a couple of serious roles with comedic moments that he really did pull off exceptionally well. And I don't mean the one where the costume was the star, but you
yeah.
know,
Well, the thing about Val Kilmer is he was good at serious ones roles and comedic roles. Although I
mhm.
thought he was better at comedy,
That's my belief as well. Yes, I think
because if
he's
you ever saw Top Secret, I don't think nobody else could have done that role as well as he did
no,
because he had the perfect blend of seriousness, comedy, and comedic timing, and
hmm.
that is so difficult to pull off.
I cannot think of anybody that would be a better successor to Leslie Nielsen in that kind of comedy. Just that,
Mm,
just that straight-faced silliness. And believe it or not, Leslie Nielsen was once the romantic leading man.
oh yeah, Forbidden Planet wasn't it he was in?
Forbidden Planet, Scarlet Pimpernel. Yeah. And but he found his niche doing the totally serious guy saying silly stuff in airplane movies and beyond.
Oh, he
Uh,
was hilarious.
oh yeah, yeah, and nobody did it better for
And
what that
David
was.
Leisure as the one of Harry Krishnas in the first airplane movie,
Yeah.
and Joey Souza. And
Oh Lord, I still remember the commercials for the damn truck. Yeah, I still remember. Uh, God knows I want to forget, but uh,
he was so funny. And
yeah.
then
When it comes to deadpan humor, there is a short list of people who are really good at it.
and Lloyd Bridges was one of the best at it.
Oh man, I grew up with Lloyd Bridges on Sea Hunt of all
Yeah,
things. So yeah, uh, picked the
I mean
wrong.
he could do serious stuff very well, but he was a comedic gold mine.
And you watch people that have been serious actors all your life, and suddenly
Mm.
somebody turns them loose in a comedy, and you find out serious is not all they can do.
Yeah.
Your eyes get wide and your jaw drops, and you
Well,
have a great time.
one I got mad at because he didn't want to do comedy for the longest was Bill Murray. It took Harold Ramis dying for him to decide he wanted to do comedy again.
Mm, yeah. Well,
I know Bill rubs people the wrong way, or a number of people the wrong way,
it can
but,
do.
but
Yes.
from what I understand, Chevy Chase is a bigger jerk than Bill ever thought about being. Because I've heard stories about Chevy, and I'm like, dang.
Yeah, I've heard that too, and it's one of those things where, uh, I appreciate the body of work, but I really don't want to know anything about the person behind the body of work,
Yeah.
which is totally unlike, say, uh, Robin Williams, or even his inspiration. Um, oh
And
crap! Now I'm having a brain fart and I can't remember his
Jonathan
name.
Winters.
Jonathan Winters. Thank you. I am ashamed I could not remember Jonathan Winters' name. I grew up watching Jonathan Winters' variety show. Uh, God, that guy could do improv like nobody's business. Just
Oh,
hand
yeah.
him a dirty sock and he'd be an entirely different character than he was 30 seconds ago.
Did you ever see the skit where he got elected to first secretary of the Communist Party in Russia?
I don't believe I saw that one. No.
Oh my God, it was hilarious. He was, doing his heavy, thick Russian accent. He's like, "Were you surprised when you became first secretary of the Communist Party in Russia?" He says, "Oh yes, it was a glorious moment for I was a little boy and all of the heck growing up in a rough time. And they beat the shit out of me when I was little." Like, what's the first thing you want to do? He said, "France. We just want France." And
France.
just the stuff he was going over that, I'm like, only Jonathan Winters could pull that off.
And it was useless to give Jonathan Winters a script.
Yeah, it's just
All
like
you
Robin
all
Williams.
you all you
You just say
needed to do
go.
was tell him the character and turn him loose and hope that you got something that was not going to need to be heavily edited for what came out of their mouth. Lord
Oh
have
man!
mercy. Ah,
And when he played Mork's son, Mirth.
yeah, and that was actually done because Jonathan was being forgotten, basically,
Mm-hmm.
by a lot of people that should never have forgotten his contribution to not only stand up but comedy in general, and his his life outside of his comedy work. Uh, did you know he's a marvelous painter?
Mm.
He was a fantastic artist, and he did that as um, a self-applied form of
Mm-hmm.
therapy for his well, I don't know if it was bipolar or whether it was
ADHD.
ADHD. Yeah. Robin Williams. Yeah, you could definitely see that as bipolar, but
Mm-hmm.
um, and you could also apply that to several other things on the autism spectrum as well. But that
Well,
it seems like uh, comedy and a true excellence at comedy comes from an internal conflict between what was expected of you and what you wanted to do.
that
And
makes sense.
that kind of the freedom to cut loose and be as improvisationally crazy as some of the folks that we have talked about have been known to do. That's just that's almost therapy right there. Being able to cut loose and just say anything and say it in such a way that people laugh rather than people want to have you committed. Uh, that's it's a blessing. And for those that did exactly work that way, and yes, I used those words in the wrong order, that did work in exactly that way, it was a blessing to us as an audience. Uh,
Well, one
they're
of my favorite little scenes from Mork and Mindy, the not with Jonathan Winters, but there's a scene where Mort takes an egg, and it ships basically an egg. So he throws it up and like, "Fly, be free," and then it splatters on the counter.
yeah.
Just that
Uh,
little scene. I'm like, that's comedy gold. Nobody else would have thought to have done that.
Guess we're gonna have scramble today. Uh,
The other night when you were talking about actors and they were funny or not, I mentioned it in the comments, and I don't think it got picked up on because it was another one of those lively shows where everybody was just kind of going back and forth.
mhm.
Um, I never thought Richard Benjamin was that funny.
um, well,
I
y-
know he was trying to play the straight man and with a little bit of comedic scenes
yeah,
in it, but
yeah.
I mean, I love the movie Love at First Bite, but that was George Hamilton and just being entertained by him, and he was kind of boring in it. And Saturday the 14th, where he was kind of like Brad in
Rocky
Rocky
Horror.
Horror Picture Show, just kind of in a constant state of shock and like,
Have you ever seen the original movie Westworld?
seen bits and pieces of it. I believe Yul Brynner was the bad guy.
Yes, yes. And Benjamin was in that as not a comedic actor, but a serious actor.
Hmm.
And he was very, very good at it.
Yeah,
And then later on, seeing him do comedy was a change up from watching him do serious stuff.
yeah.
Um, now, I don't want to say that it was the writer's fault that he wasn't funny because he had some damn fine writers for some of the comedy series that he was dropped into. Uh, I don't know whether or not he was comfortable in those comedic roles,
Yeah, he
but
seemed a bit
he he
stiff.
he did give it his best, and if it was not on a par with somebody who was well known as a comedian,
Hmm.
well, you know,
And wasn't he
maybe
in
that was a genre too far for him.
one or two of the late 70s Chevy Chase movies, like Seems Like Old Times or Foul Play or
I know that I've seen both of those, and I can't remember a single minute or a single joke from them. Um, Unfortunately, Chevy Chase is one of those people where he can do absurdist comedy really well, and when it comes to not absurdist sort of comedy, it's not well received.
no, he wasn't in that one as Charles Grodin in it. Now Charles Grodin was he was one of those actors that could do serious and he could do comedy very
Mm,
well.
yeah, very much so. Yeah. Um,
He had very good timing.
yeah, that's one of the things that's really, really important in your delivery of a punchline is you don't hesitate enough or you hesitate too much, the joke doesn't work. But if you come in right at the perfect second, and oh, that's one of those things where Steve Ellis is going on about my comedy in the green room on Friday nights,
Hmm.
and it's just everybody there gives me straight lines.
Hmm.
My inner smartass gives me comedic one-liners to follow up, and it's up to me to get the timing correctly. But occasionally I score. Occasionally it's a hit and a miss, but
Yeah, you
it's
put
just,
forth the effort.
well, I, I I come out with a line. If the timing is right, then people laugh. If the timing is wrong, they go, "Oh yeah, that was so 5 minutes ago." Uh,
Well, also, I imagine as fast paced as that probably is, it's kind of hard to time it exactly right
hmm And then
because you're dealing with a very talkative bunch.
and each of them are extremely knowledgeable about whatever it is they're going on about, and they all have their own individual senses of humor as well. And you be building off of somebody else's joke, or you could be trying to slide a joke into something that they were saying that was serious, or trying to highlight a verbal faux pas that they just made. When it's just one of those things, and
And I don't,
it's not like I sit and think about it. It's just
and I
somebody
don't
says
know.
something and I got a smart ass remark to reply, and I've got to sit there and choose as to whether or not I'm going to lose a friend if I say this.
Well, and another thing, I don't know how often Brian K. Morris is, but as fast as he talks, it's hard to get in a word edgewise unless he takes a pause. And
It
his pauses are brief.
it can be done, believe me. And
I know it can be done, but it's not
sometimes he
easy.
gives you the perfect straight line, but it's got to be something, well, not only a double entendre, it's a triple and quadruple entendre most of the time.
Of course, because there's so much said that they
I
leave the
know, I know.
opportunity.
It's the context that is not included in the conversation that you can read into it as if it were. Uh, now, and God help me, somebody's going to think I'm looking for a career in stand up when I'm not. I'm definitely a sit down comic. Uh, I take advantage of targets of opportunity when my
They
sense of
present
humor is
themselves.
actually working. And sometimes it's not because I'm not always on, and I'm not always up for being funny. Sometimes I don't feel like it. Sometimes I've got stuff going on in the real world that distracts me from being able to think funny stuff. And a lot of people notice that when it's in a situation where I'm normally the smart ass making jokes all the time, and all of a sudden that night I'm not. But
Mhm.
it's people respect my right to privacy, and they don't pry. They don't
Well,
ask. They don't ask questions and just go. It's one of those nights. Don't you know?
you
Let's.
can kind of you can kind of strike it up to the Jerry Reed song. When you hot, and when you're not, you're not.
Yeah, and actually, life's a lot like that. There are times when being a clown is a fun thing to
Mhm.
do, and there are times when um, being expected to be a clown is a burden.
Well, and there's sometimes where being a clown or being humorous is called for, and there's other times where a little more decorum is in order.
Hmm. Yeah, there's time to make jokes and there's time to be a friend.
Yeah.
Uh, and
And being able to recognize which ones is a useful thing to have.
no, I'm not going to say that here. You know exactly where I was going.
I got a pretty good idea.
Yep, this is not the green room. I cannot make that joke. Yes.
But you know, like I
Yeah,
said, that's part of the fun about being in something like that. Sometimes to use a baseball reference, you leave a curveball hanging so they can knock one out of the park with it.
and sometimes you just bunt and hope you can make it to first base.
Exactly. It's hit or miss, but you know what? When you hit, sometimes you hit big, and when sometimes it's a grounder.
Mm,
You might run it out, and chances are you might get put out. But
mm. Yeah,
it is what it is.
you do what you feel is right in each particular instance, and hope you make the right choice.
And
That's
we
what
have
life
made
is
it,
all about.
and we have made it to 3 o'clock.
Yep. It's basically. I'm sorry, folks that are watching live or on the rerun. It is time to play the end credits, which I did change the song for the end credits and slow the bedtime story down so it's a little bit easier to read. I did not change the bedtime story. I am not totally finished processing the new music for the end credits. There's still a couple of things that I want to throw in there, but it means a complete re-edit, and that's going to take like half a day to re-edit that because I've got to dig up the clips and put them in the right place, and then reformat the files. And reformatting the files is the short part. So, ladies and gentlemen, I want to thank you for coming tonight or however you reacted. And we are going to say goodnight for this week and rejoin you again Thursday night.
And happy Mother's Day to all
Happy
you mothers
Mother's
out there.
Day. And we won't touch the next joke on that one. So, once again, you know exactly where I was going. It's nice to have someone who can read my mind like a magazine.
And don't forget to check out Aphelion Webzine because you may learn something and be
And
entertained in the process.
being entertained is one of the high points. And learning something, if you are a writer or an editor, that's also a plus, but a side effect. Being entertained is the main draw. And thank you very much for mentioning that. I do have an Aphelion ad somewhere, but I don't think I can pull it up at the moment. But let's just
keep it in the bullpen for next time.
Hey, I've got to make sure that I've actually got it in a presentable form. It might not be. It might be something I want to re-edit. So
this is true too.
These things they happen. So thanks
you again, everybody.
Y'all have a good night.
Happy Mother's Day.
The best we can. Happy Mother's Day, and it's time to leave the party.
Until next time.
Transmission overload.
System will shut down. 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 System will shut down.
I write some cool music, don't I? Good night, everybody.